So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Theosophical Society in Detroit, meeting in Berkeley. I know most of you know about the Theosophical Society and number of members here, so I'll just give a brief description. The society was founded in 1875 in New York City by Helena Blavatsky, who was from the Ukraine. From Ukraine, we don't say the anymore, it's a country, from Ukraine. And by an American Army officer, Henry Steele Alcott. And that was in 1875. And a few years later, the headquarters of the society moved to India, to southern India, the province of Madras, which is now called Chennai. And the headquarters, international headquarters, is still there in India. The American headquarters is in Wheaton, Illinois, which is an interesting little town with Billy Graham's alma mater, Wheaton College, at one end, and at the other end is the Theosophical Society. Two entirely different belief systems or value systems, maybe is a better word to say, but interesting nevertheless to look at both of them in the same tiny town. The society has three objects. First is to form a nucleus of the universal brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity without regard to race, creed, sex, caste, or color. The second is to encourage the study of comparative religion, philosophy, and science, and the arts. And the third is to investigate unexplained laws of nature and the powers which are latent within each one of us. Tonight we're going to be talking about one of those powers, which is meditation. I think we can look at powers not in necessarily a psychic sense, although that is included, but also in a deeper spiritual sense, like healing, empathy, compassion, and meditation. Our speaker is Josephine Sheppard. Josephine has 23 years of experience in meditation and teaching meditation. She is the author of this book here, HSP, Empathic and Empowered, Expanding My Perspective. So I know she's got a long title, a good title, probably nice. Going to be talking about it tonight, and also we're going to do something practical, like actually meditate and not just talk about it. So I think we're all looking forward to that. And Josephine, I know, is going to talk about her background also a little bit, which I'm always interested in people's backgrounds, especially people who have a spiritual direction in life. So welcome, Josephine. Looking forward to tonight.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate everyone coming out on a Friday evening when we all like to be out there partying, right? And going to the dance clubs? Okay. Only half of us, or maybe we used to, something like that. So, a little bit about myself. My spiritual path, if you will, is a kind of a blend not only of from how I was born into this world. I have a distinct memory of being non-physical consciousness before coming into this physical form. And the biggest question that most people have about that is, well, what does that feel like, you know? And it's, words in our human context are very, very limiting, but in loose description, it's just an expansive broadness of awareness and consciousness that goes well beyond what the human mind has the capacity to comprehend. And so that's even why it's difficult to try to find words that at least point in the general direction of what that sensation was like. But there was definitely an awareness, and I do understand that this is the way everybody and everything is before coming into this time-space reality. It's just that as a rule we don't remember, and it's logical that we don't, because we have, the physical world that influences and helps to structure our personality. As far as spiritual practices, back in '94 is when I really took a conscious effort of wanting to delve into what spirituality meant to me, what the different arts, how they would serve me, how it would emphasize what I had already understood and was aware of, and also to help me articulate what I felt like I knew and understood, but just didn't have the language for it. And so I'm naturally curious anyway, so Theosophy just fit for me because there's the willingness to look at the different religions and beliefs and practices and studies and the formulas used for the different types of meditations in the different backgrounds. And some belief systems and religions don't really say it's meditation per se. Sometimes it's just more, we are prayerful. Or others, it's about the way that they meditate. In other words, it's about integrating the physical movement. One of the experiences in my 3 years of focused training in the mid-90s included an introduction to Sufism and the form of meditation and integrating the whole of ourselves with our spiritual nature and our understanding of our spiritual, the divine, the oneness, the greater mind, was through constant movement and circular dance as a group. It put a huge impression on me, and of course, like anything, it started sparking more questions like, okay, how do we get more of this sensation? Do I always need someone else with me just to do that? Those types of things. When it comes to what I want to talk about this evening and classes that I offer through GVST Wellness in St. Clair Shores are two different modalities. I have had the opportunity to lead a variety of styles of meditation, including what we may consider our standard, where we're sedentary and we're just focused inward, focused on breath, or just, as we call it, emptiness. What I had learned about myself but didn't really pay attention to and just realized over time I was doing intuitively is that the struggle I had with that. Now, there was a period of time, we used to say, fake it till you make it. Well, that doesn't really work. And particularly because we are human and most people have experiences that invoke a continuum of thought or energy patterns that trigger emotions when you begin to be still. Now, one of the questions that often arises is, if I'm in meditation and those emotions arise, is it the meditation that's triggering those emotions or those thought patterns? Not really, because the body is a brilliant chemical factory. And as now science has gotten to a point where it can even validate that stresses actually translate from our thought patterns into emotions, as well as physical dis-ease, discomfort, or mental and emotional disabilities, so to speak. Then there's that understanding that we actually have more influence when we practice consciously than what we realize. So in my meditation practices, I had developed at one point what I called the blended energy method. It seemed logical to call it that because I was blending different styles and tools in order to create something that felt functionable for myself, sharing that with clients and other people, discovering that a lot of other folks really responded to that as well. So what do I mean by that? I'm going to refer to one of, and I don't use a lot of scientific terms, so bear with me. I believe in using just, I call elementary terminology, so not only can I understand it, but anyone else, that's not into the sciences per se, will kind of get the gist of where we're going. If you have a scientific mind, then I appreciate you, bear with us. So, one of the things that I have learned that helps our body actually respond to our intention for meditation is working specifically with the vagus nerve. Now, in the 90s, there was a lot of research and stuff that came out, and there were a lot of ways that the practices to integrate the responsiveness of the polyvagal nerve and the vagus nerve was incorporated. So but it wasn't so widely in the public to where it was being used consistently and not necessarily directly in relation to meditation. In some of the trauma-informed therapies, you would recognize that. More and more yoga is incorporating the education of being trauma-informed because there's an understanding of how the nervous system works, how our digestive system responds to that, and how the patterns of thought that we don't recognize because they are habits, habitual, are behind that story. The vagus nerve, just to be really loose about it, is considered the wandering nerve. And so you're looking at something at the back of the neck, and it literally runs information to the brain, to the heart, to the digestive system, and of course there's the connection with our spinal cord and our spinal fluid as well, because the nervous system is communicating with all of the systems. So think about when there's a time when we're in a state of fight, flight, freeze, or even fawning. What's happening is the nervous system, if you're being chased by a tiger back in the day, we don't have to worry about that now, thankfully, the vagus nerve was what was responsible for sending the message to the rest of the physical body senses that did not need to be in operation at that time, so that all of the electrical, magnetic messages and chemicals could focus you and zero in on either moving your body as quickly as possible or at least having such a sharp sense of thinking that you were able to move the way that you needed to. So digestion was not an issue. Thinking about chewing food was not an issue. Everything else pretty much was put on hold. The challenges of many people today, when you have experiences in life, which we all have, as long as we're alive, we have them. And there's no such thing as not having baggage because it just is the way it is. Mm-hmm. There are going to be events in life that for whatever reason, particularly through our youth, even up through the age of 25, because the brain does not stop developing until it hits the age of 25, where the chemical factory in our body is going to take the stories we create in our mind in order to create the patterns and behaviorisms that we have that help guide us in our life, that help us to stay safe is the main thing, that help us to connect, attachment, which is a primary thing for when we come in to humanity, as they're automatically wanting to attach and to connect. So that's a natural thing. The stories get wavered, and how we go about that, that's AKA how trauma is formed. Trauma isn't necessarily the event, it's how we process and the message that is sent into the body and stored in the body. The other thing that I really realized is helpful is to recognize the influences of our chakras. Many of you may already be aware that the chakras aren't just based on a philosophy, but there are actually bundles of nerves that sometimes are even called mini brains, at the locations of what we call the key chakras. And most of the times people talk about 7, so you're talking about your base energy center, which is the root, generally placed at right around the tailbone location and above the perineum. Now that the way the nervous system expands and the way the electromagnetic energy field expands goes beyond just those centers in the center of the body. They expand through your body, all of your organs that are in that locale, because that center has a responsibility of messaging with that area of the body. Also, and an external reading. So we talk about, I'm going to backtrack for just a minute and I'll come back. Heart-brain coherence. Most of you might have heard, anyone heard of heart math? Mm-hmm. Okay. So they're great on, that's what their emphasis is on, obviously, is the heart-brain coherence. And they focus on how in the heart meditation, where you're allowing the heart even has a bundle of nerves that's considered the heart's brain. It operates separate from the human brain. How, in the sense that it doesn't have a thought process like what's going on with the human brain. So we can influence ourselves and bring ourselves in alignment through the heart-brain coherence. That being said, one of in the studies through heart math, they really brought attention to the fact that the electromagnetic field from the heart and the pulsation from the heart expands a few feet outside of the body. So then I go back to considering the fact that each of the chakras are in the same form, that they expand beyond the external aspects of your physical body. And this is the reason why we have a psychological, emotional, or physiological response when we get near someone and we feel really good being around them, or we get near someone and we don't. Now we have the science that says, oh yeah, that really does happen. A lot of people already knew that beforehand, but the wonderful thing is we have that as well to help support us. Now to go back to the chakras, the next chakra up, the second chakra, is at your belly. It's just below, sometimes it might feel like it's about at where your belly button is, deep within, also expanding. That color is an orange. The next one is at your stomach, which is considered your solar plexus. The color of that chakra, and the colors I'm mentioning are in their healthy state. So you're going to think about very vibrant, holistic colors when they're in their healthy state. The one that is at your solar plexus is yellow. The heart is green. The throat is blue. Where the third eye is a lavender, kind of borders on lavender and purple. And the one that is actually above the head, that is we can see that also when we do scanning, is actually a very vibrant and deep purple. Sometimes it has kind of a golden outline around it when it's in its healthy state. So, in my studies and in the different courses I was taking in order to understand the, if you want to call it anatomy and physiology, the science behind also what was happening for meditation and for myself, I discovered that if I work with the nervous system as well as the chakras, that helped me to really find a way to ground into my body. Now, when I talk about grounding into the body, what I'm talking about is actually feeling comfortable, experiencing physical and emotional sensations. Much of our society has trained us that we're supposed to disassociate from the body, even in our medicine, in our Western medicine, because the body is treated separately from our psychology, our spirituality, which when I refer to spirituality, I'm talking about the way that the electromagnetic field expands beyond our physical being. It also associates with spiritual practices, which many of our Eastern religions have incorporated that even in their medicine. When you think about Ayurveda or acupuncture and that sort of thing. Any Chinese medicine, oftentimes it has included that as well. So, what I find is most important as well, aside from me just gibber jabbering up here and give you a lot of intellectual head information, is for you to be able to experience the style that I'm referring to, which is now called body-wise meditation. There is a secondary formula that is called soul-wise meditation, which takes what you're able to do from body-wise into a much deeper and broader level, into reaching spirituality, connecting to your own spiritual essence, as well as whatever you may call it, the divine, God, Goddess, Allah, the superconscious field, source energy, as well as working with your own angels or guides or whatever your belief system is. But today we're just going to work with the body-wise practice. And just kind of a heads up before we get started, oftentimes I lead with the classes that I lead over at GVST Wellness. We generally have folks stretch out on a yoga mat. It's not a requirement, but the only reason why it's recommended is because laying on the floor on your mat, the body actually associates the floor, the hardness of the floor, as some place to ground. It sends a physiological message for the body to understand that it's safe. So that way your body is more responsive to what your intention is in order to go inward and to tune in and to hear what's going on within. This is not just a lay still, do nothing meditation. It is I guide you through the entire process because we focus specifically on the vagus nerves and the chakras, the sensations of the body, what arises, which brings me to the reason why I recommend bringing a journal or a notebook of some sort, is because as a rule, after doing this type of formula, something usually arises. And because we deliberately invoke your awareness to pay attention to anything that may arise. With that, then you're able to, make a note. I felt this, or this memory came up, or this thought came up, or this emotion. I felt this emotion. I felt an emotion without a thought. You won't always understand why you have going on what you do, but that's the purpose of tuning in and tapping in to your own anatomy and physiology and psychology, so that when you become aware of something that's already there that you haven't been aware of, with awareness, you have more choices. You have options how to deal with emotions that are being triggered for what feels like no apparent reason, or thoughts that arise which feels like for no apparent reason. And this process helps you to improve upon the internal dialogue and the way that you speak to yourself. Sometimes, and it was one of the realizations I had for myself, is I didn't recognize how brutal I was in talking to myself. And then I started tapping in, and I had to take a pause. I'm like, am I that awful to me? I don't ever treat anyone that way. I would never treat anyone that way. Why am I doing this to me? But that's the important question. Because then you start asking why. Okay, why am I having this thought? Sometimes that why, in order to understand it, it's not going to come as a, specific memory at age 3, this happened, blah, 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 blah. Because it's an energy pattern, it's an emotional pattern that's already manifested, it's just been in your body. So sometimes it's just going to come and rise up as an emotion or even a physical discomfort, all of which are temporary. So even if the emotion or intense memory arises, the purpose is to be that loving space and awareness that you actually are. You are the noticer. You, in essence, loosely stated, you become that unconditional loving parent to whatever arises. And if you feel like nothing's coming up, that's okay too. Because we don't want to go digging for something and then create something unnecessarily. That doesn't serve us either. When you feel like there's just nothing there, it's just reveling in that moment, enjoying the experience, enjoying the opportunity to really get to know yourself in a new way. And what I would call in a sacred way. So, let's start out by, if you want to get a water, because your body detoxes, it never fails. The body always wants to detox in some ways. If you want to grab a water, those of you who want to be on your yoga mat, if you want to go ahead and get settled in on that.
We have room up front too. Your front and back.
Let me turn this like bright light off.
Oh, good idea.
That way it'll kind of like put on it.
Okay. Thank you, though. Okay.
A little better.
That's nice. Nice ambiance.
Yeah.
Now, if you're on a yoga mat, I won't have you recline as of yet, because we're going to start out working with the vagus nerve and then kind of go from there. Okay. Has everyone found their comfort zone to the best of your ability? I'm just going to put another reminder, and regardless if it's applicable here or not, anything that you feel inclined to share or anything that you experience in this group stays here. Because I believe in respecting everyone's experience. It's very individual. And just focus on what you're experiencing and not worry about if someone else is doing it, if someone else is feeling it, or if someone else is watching you. Because I assure you, first of all, if you're following my instructions, you're not going to be aware of what anyone else is doing. You're going to be wanting to follow along to know where you're at next. Okay? All right, so our first step is that we want to rub our hands together. One of the things we do in Reiki is to get ourselves fluent in feeling the sensation of our own energy and activating it. And this helps encourage us to start incrementally tuning in to our own body and the sensations that we experience. So then just pull them apart by a few inches and just notice any sensations you feel. could feel pulsing, and if you want to allow your hands to slightly move in and out from each other, that might assist the sensation. You may feel a pulsing, a pressure, a warmth, a coolness, a tingling. And if you're not sure if you're feeling anything, don't worry about it. Just play the game. It's all about self-discovery. Okay. And you might even, depending on where your sensory system is, you might even feel something up through your wrists, your forearms, your elbows. If you even want to just kind of imagine like there's a ball of white light between your hands, and imagine it gently expanding and kind of pushing your hands farther and farther apart, just as far as feels comfortable to you. Don't force it. And if you want to kind of rotate your hands around this ball of light, just to kind of get a sense of energy or pressure that you can't see, but you might be able to sense. Just let yourself relax. Let your hands fall to your sides, your lap, wherever you're comfortable. Next, there's a little indentation behind your earlobes. And you just want to rest a finger in that area, right behind your earlobes, both sides. Doesn't matter which finger, first finger, middle finger, whichever, whatever feels comfortable to you. And just kind of rest your hands on your cheeks, your face. Doesn't require a lot of pressure. You can just hold the fingers there. The vagus nerve is very close to the surface. And so what we're doing is we're encouraging the nervous system to relay the message to the rest of the body that it is safe. Safe to relax. Safe to be present. We're going to just hold our fingers behind the ears for a minute or so. Just to allow time to let the nervous system reset. And while we're doing that, we're going to add another step to help encourage the process by humming. So when we inhale and then we exhale, on the exhale, we're just going to hum. The vibration of the voice box enhances the nervous system, the vagus nerve, to relay the message that it is safe and to relax and for all systems to be functioning. And we'll do that probably 3 or 4 or 5 times. So inhale and again. notice, you can relax. You might even start to notice how your body is naturally starting to just calm. Maybe even involuntarily breathing more deeply. Any tension you might have been feeling in your shoulders starts to soften. Sometimes when you're resetting the vagus nerve, if you sigh, if you involuntarily take a deep breath, even if you cough or belch, that's the nervous system adjusting, and that lets you know that yes, in fact, the message has been sent to the rest of the body. So now, those of you that are on your mats, if you want to get reclined now, I invite you to do so, because we're going to go into the next step from here. And I invite each of you to just attempt to get as comfortable as you can in your seats, either reclined or sitting. And just notice the weight of your body in your seat. The sensation of your back against the floor or chair. The sensation of your buttocks and hips against the floor or the chair. Just be aware of the weight of your body and any sensations you might start to feel. And remember, the purpose is for you to be the noticer and the awareness that is observing the experience. The thought arises, I don't know what's going on. I should expect something. I don't know if I can do this. What's the point? How long is this going to take? Did I leave the stove on? Just notice. Just notice any thoughts that might arise. Like it's a floating cloud, and you're watching it pass by, and gently bring your awareness back to where you're at the moment. Noticing the weight of your legs, your thighs, your calves, your feet, your heels against the floor or your seat. Notice any sensations you're having. What does it feel like to feel your legs and your feet from the inside out? Is there a pressure? A tingling, maybe caused by circulation? A warmth or a coolness? Do you notice any involuntary switching or flinching? I invite you to invite your body to relax a little bit more deeply, allowing your body to feel a little more heavier, at ease. Notice if there's something in your body, a shoulder, neck, back, that might feel a sensation of discomfort. Adjust yourself, and at the same time, be that loving awareness that recognizes the sensation. Our intention is not to judge the experience, to analyze or to assess, but to actually observe what potential experience is happening inside your body. Now we're going to start at your feet, so I invite you to bring your awareness down to your feet, either to the heels and soles, and I want you to consider what sensation is you're feeling from the inside out. What does your feet feel like? Without having to wiggle the toes or to move the ankles. Draw your attention gently to your ankles and to your calves. What sensations are you experiencing in that part of your body? How does it feel? Is there any discomfort? Any other sensations that maybe you don't have a label for? Are there any thoughts arising? I'm going to gently bring your awareness up to your hips, pelvis, lower back, and lower belly. Just bring your attention and awareness to that part of your body. This is also the home of the root chakra or energy center. If you feel like you're capable, gently move your awareness to that energy center at the core of that part of your body, and then expand your awareness within the body and slightly outside of the body. So you encompassing your attention in that entire area. Noticing any sensations, thoughts, spaciousness, and I invite you to gently ask that part of your body if there's anything that you need to be aware of for that part of your body to feel loved, seen, heard, or understood. And just listen. You don't have to insert anything or assume anything. You're just going to listen and be aware. We're going to gently move our awareness up to the next area of our body, in the lower abdomen, where the next chakra or energy center is, deep within, as well as expanding a little outside of the body. And I even invite you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and releasing any energy out through the mouth. And allowing your awareness to continue being broadened and alert, and asking the same question to this part of your body. Is there anything that I need to know that you would like me to be aware of to help you feel well, loved, seen, heard, and understood? And if you feel an impulse to move your body a little bit, allow yourself to do that. Sometimes information arises in a way that does not have to go through the conscious mind, but wants to shift and move through the body, which inevitably will inspire you to adjust your spine or your hips or your legs. Sometimes there's just movement and release even by a yawn or deep breathing. Perfectly normal, perfectly natural. If you have a thought arise that says, I really don't get this, it's okay. Just notice. Give that thought attention and awareness and understanding. I invite you to gently bring your awareness to the next energy center in your body. Which is going to be right around your diaphragm, your solar plexus. I invite you to take another nice deep breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. Just allowing the body to release, relax, soothing and comforting. allowing and releasing. And with your awareness, focus generally in the solar plexus. Ask that part of your body, what would you have me understand or know to help you feel at ease, love, well, seen, comforted. And moving your awareness gently to the next chakra in your heart space. Expanding your awareness, being the observer, noticing sensations. And ask in your heart space, what would you have me know in order for you to feel loved, well, satisfied, seen, heard, and recognized. And just listen. And I invite you to gently move your awareness to your throat space. The chakra located at your throat and expanding beyond. Asking that area of your body, what do you need to know? What do I need to know in order to help you, the throat space, to feel heard, loved, seen, or to express more clearly and efficiently? broaden your awareness to notice also if, as we move through these energy centers, you feel a sensation in another area of your body. Just be aware and notice what that sensation feels like. If there's nothing specific, just be okay with the awareness that you have now. Notice if there's a thought pattern arising in some way, or an emotion or a sensation that might lead you to believe that it's not safe to be this intimate and close within your own body. Not to judge it or to change it or to ridicule it, but simply to be aware if it's there. You don't have to dig for anything. If you do not have that experience, be okay with that and just keep your focus where you're at now. I invite you to gently move your attention and your awareness up between your brows and slightly above to the third eye area. Noticing any sensations, thoughts, inside and out, warm, cold, tingling. Asking if that part of your body has anything that you need to know. To be aware about yourself and how you're processing. And what you need to know for that part of your being to feel loved, heard, acknowledged, and understood. Just continue to listen. And it may be that regardless of where our intention is to focus at the moment, that another part of your body wants your attention. So allow yourself to be aware of that and be present and listen. I invite you to gently bring your awareness to the sensations and energies at the top of your scalp and just above. You're bringing your awareness, your presence, and your attention just above your head. Some call this the 8th chakra, or also an entry point or a connection point for your higher power, your life force, which may also feel a sensation. Just let your awareness go there. No expectation of whatever sensation or none that you feel a few inches all the way around your body as well. You are that noticer, that consciousness, that spaciousness that is aware of itself and the physical body that you inhabit. Notice any sensation that you feel around your body. It might even be the sensation of air or warmth or a coolness. Or maybe it's just bringing your awareness to the weight of your body where you're at this moment. Bring your awareness to the weight of your body on the floor or the chair. What sensations are you feeling in your back and your hips? The sensation of the floor against the bottom of your feet or your heels. The weight of your head. Your shoulders, your arms hanging from your shoulders. Now notice what thoughts are arising. Not to be labeled good, bad, or indifferent. Just be aware. Is it repeating a story? Is it wanting to know when we're done? Is it informing you of your comfort or discomfort? Is it drawing your attention to a memory? A physical sensation? Spaciousness? I invite you to take a nice, deep, cleansing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And we're going to bring your awareness more to the present and to this room. Feeling the sensation of your body, maybe wiggling your fingers and toes. Noticing the shift in your anatomy and physiology, your body temperature, your breathing. On the count of 3, alert and present. 1, replenished, refreshed. 2, alert. 3, wide awake. I'll give you a minute or two to reorient yourself, stretch if you need to. Sometimes just getting up and jumping up and down and feeling your body move. It's your waters. The recommendation for this presentation today was also to bring a journal or a notebook. And so if you have that, you might want to grab that, or if there's some papers and pens for people to use. While you're doing that, I have a mailing list. I'm going to pass this around if you would like to be a subscriber to my website so you know when I'm doing talks or classes, etc. It's free, so I'm going to pass that around so you can put your information down as you wish.
Anybody need paper or pencil? Forgot how to write it.
My experiences is getting warmer and warmer. It's just interesting.
Yeah, I felt that too.
I think, yeah, I tend to heat up, especially when I'm working with energy, which I would think that I should just be a toothpick as much as I do that, but I guess it doesn't work that way. Alrighty. So the reason why I encourage the journaling after a body-wise session is because of the fact that you're deliberately tapping into information stored in your own body. And it's not always going to make sense to the logical mind, and it doesn't have to. So writing down your experience, if you're mentioning the sensations that you had in your body, or if there was a thought that arose during the process, if the thought arose when you were in a specific place in your body. These things can all be clues and indicators as to what's happening within you. It's not really an unconscious thing, and yet it is, because it's a pattern. It's habitual, so it becomes subconscious. But it is addressable and discernible. It just takes practice. And of course, this was just a demonstration. So the more that you do something like this, the more practice, like anything, do you start to understand what your own patterns are and how to empower yourself as a result of the practice. So if there are thoughts that are coming to mind, or if anyone has any questions about your experience, then please let me know, and then we can kind of go over that a little bit. And don't be shy. Sometimes they're kind of personal things, but it does always end up helping everyone else out in order to know how to view things.
When something from childhood arises that you can't deal with any longer as an adult because the situation has passed, how does one cope with something like that?
That's a very good question, and it is something that does commonly happen. Now, I'm going to address that in a couple of different ways. One thing is that when we have a childhood event or emotion that seems to arise that feels very difficult because it triggers a strong, generally negative emotion. There's two things that you want to do. One, as the observer, that is where you're empowering yourself to parent that aspect, so to speak. In other words, you are becoming that loving presence that just wants that part of the body wants to be heard. So sometimes it's even using a visualization. You know, if it's distinct memory where you see yourself as that child, then use that. Use that past memory, that image of you as that child, and bring yourself, you as the adult, and be that loving presence that just listens to whatever that child wants to express to you. You may or may not have information. You know, sometimes if it's something that's not been seen by you before, you know, like any child that might be in a traumatic situation, they might not be so ready and you know, exhilarated to share, oh, guess what? I feel like this, because it takes time. And that's why I also say continue the practice. So one is just reminding yourself that you are not that child anymore, but you are the adult that can now love and pay attention to the needs of that inner child. Two, oftentimes what is questioned is, well, if this is coming up and I'm experiencing a strong emotion, am I therefore then manifesting negative experiences because I've gone ahead and quote unquote tapped into it? First of all, if you're experiencing a strong emotion as a result of a memory, it's already manifest, okay? If you're experiencing something in your body and a memory comes with it, it's already manifested. That's how it's manifesting. So we are empowered, and we empower ourselves by taking time to really just be. Again, we broaden our sense of awareness. We use the wisdom that we have now and that sense of spaciousness, holding space. Space exists, so we're not really holding it. So you begin to hold space and then you release it, because you just simply be that conscious awareness. And in that state of presence, there are many times also that it might automatically just release on its own. It just needed acknowledgement. There may be times where it may take a longer process because of whatever reason, because of however the body took that message and put a pattern into your body system, okay? It sometimes will also open the doorway for you to realize how cognitively you have been making decisions or processing things, and that can be a powerful eye-opener. I know the first time that I came to a realization of negative patterns of thought that I had, which I knew I was being influenced internally in some way to make decisions I was making that wasn't serving me. But at that time, I didn't know what that was. You know, I felt a trigger, in other words, the emotions arise, but I couldn't place why I couldn't break the pattern. Because of this practice, it allowed me to have a constructive way of observing what's going on in the body, and I was able to come to awareness. And again, it's already manifested, and we know because of the way that we make decisions, how we feel in our body, and the strength of the emotion that arises. If you go to a memory and you have no emotional response, it's not a trigger. And that's a good thing. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, or indifferent memory. Then you know that there's nothing that's been created from that time frame. There's a placement in your body that causes you to respond and act and choose the way that you are now. So does that basically answer your question, or?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that question. It's very good. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions? Yes, Gary.
Do you want to know how it affected us?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you know, I did the Reiki stuff before with the hands, and I could feel the energy like that. But when you mentioned elbows, and I could feel the pressure from my elbows, and then the arms, you know, expanding, and I never felt that before. Anyways, then when you did the vagus nerve, you know, that was another sensation, and it did relax the shoulders. It did, you know, I could feel vibration anyway, and it was in the upper part of my body. And then when you did the chakra system, I felt the vibration, you know, through the feet, the lower chakra anyway. And when I got up to the stomach area, I started thinking colors too. But most of it was just feeling energy and the vibration that it's like coming alive, you know, like I've been dead. Waking up the dead person there. And then when it got to the heart, this building appeared. and so a lot of memories here, and it surprised me, but it felt like a big expansion from that idea. But then moving the energy up further to the throat. I've been suffering with you know, the throat area, anyways, it was a vibration, and it felt better, and it was soothing. And then the head area, it was just like a feeling the vibration moving all the way up and then out, you know, and I felt enveloped in the energy, and it felt good.
Wonderful.
It was a good experience.
That's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Now, one other thing that I wanted to share with you. When we think about the flow of energy and mindset. So I'm just going to read something here. Before you came into your experience of this body, you were that which is source energy, non-physical energy. In other words, you were and are a part of the collective consciousness known as Source, or as some may say God. This practice allows you the opportunity to start fully embodying and taking to a new level the relationship you have with mind, body, and spirit, becoming more integrated. Since for centuries we have been taught how to separate all aspects, our ability to integrate as holistic beings allows us to better self-regulate instead of being dependent on something outside of us to regulate us. Takes a lot of practice, and it's going to probably take some lifetimes, only because it's something that we've been doing in our society for so long. It's operating basically dysfunctionally. But it's not something we want to judge or condemn, but we want to learn from that and take it as a bouncing off place. So it allows us the ability to make a conscious choice to observe contrasting experiences even as they arise. Now, a way to think about that is that everything in life, even us being in this room right here, right now, there are contrasting experiences, in other words, variety. This is how we're able to decipher even just, you know, with our sensory systems, sight and so forth, that I am a me in this body that sees you and vice versa. So there's a magnitude of energy frequencies that create the experience that we're having as individuals as well as a collective. I'm referencing chapter 7 in my book. This is HSP, Empathic and Empowered, Expanding My Perspective.
What's HSP stand for?
Highly sensitive person.
Is that the same as an empath?
Yes, at the time it sounded great when I did that, and I know that now it's like I probably would have shortened the name and changed it, but it is what it is. Yes.
Is that the same as an empath?
Pardon me?
Is that the same as an empath?
There can be some similarities. For as an empath, there has a tendency to be a deeper experiential sensation to energy. And there's different aspects, elements to what people may identify as being extraordinarily sensitive. There could also be some debates nowadays about what an empath is, not only because there's different aspects like being claircognizant or clairaudient, which means those senses, are excessively heightened for people. But a highly sensitive person generally is more focused on emotion, where they have they're emotionally sensitive to the emotions of others, even if they're not verbalized. But there's also a specific, which I don't even remember what it's called, but for an empath that has a heightened aspect of that as well. So I think they kind of run into each other a little bit, to be honest with you. I know if there were other people, like some of the researchers would probably stand here and argue with me and give me the technicals, but that's how I feel about it. So what I'm referencing here in this book is about ways, once you have gotten to a point of how to work with that sense of broadened awareness and consciousness. One of the examples that I would say would be, say, after doing an exercise, you feel much more grounded and centered and clear-minded. So then that would be the time when you feel at ease and at peace to use things like your positive affirmations. I'm careful with positive affirmations because sometimes there's a misunderstanding that when you use them, that it is the affirmation itself that's supposed to change you and your life experience. But the reality is that the universe doesn't hear what you say. You can use all the right words, but if the energy, the electromagnetic energy, your vibe that you're giving off, which directly is related to our emotions and our thought patterns, is in opposition to the words you're using, what you're really doing is you're just reaffirming what you don't want. When you're working with the natural laws, specifically with the natural law of attraction, then it's still about the sensations that you're feeling, because everything's vibration, everything's a frequency, which we know that even from, our science classes in probably middle school and high school now. I don't know, a lot of kids learn so much stuff earlier that it's phenomenal to me, but we understand that everything is a frequency. The cells and atoms of your body, they're vibrating, they're a frequency, but they're highly intelligent because they know exactly what their role is to do in the body and with what other cells to do what. So there's a constant energy, fluctuation, motion, everything moving. And so understanding that the law of attraction in that respect, then whatever frequencies you're emitting consistently, more habitually, is what's drawing the experiences to you. So that can be a very lengthy conversation and probably even several talks for somewhere else and some other time. But I only just tap into that a little bit because it tends to come up often, especially once we have started to experience our own energy and the own sensations. So I would recommend when you use things like affirmations, that you do that after you know that you have centered and grounded yourself and that you're completely at ease and at peace within your body as well as your mental thinking processes. Because our mind, our ego mind, is pretty tricky. It can talk us into things that aren't quite accurate. So part of the process is also questioning your own thinking. So with that, my friends,
Were you
I'm-
saying that your vagus nerve is close to the surface there? Is it close to the surface at other spots as well?
yes, so most of the vagus nerve throughout your neck and going down into the chest is pretty close to the surface
So
of
like
your
when
skin.
you're doing the tapping, is
So,
it?
yeah, so if you do tapping, EFT tapping,
Yeah, uh-huh.
yeah, the emotional freedom technique, doing the same thing.
That's affecting the vagus nerve?
It is
too?
actually working with that as well. Absolutely. Very good question. Thank you. So I like to have people's feedback just to know.
And I want to see her mailing list there. Did everybody get this?
Mm-hmm.
Right in there.
I'm going to give here to you. Give you a handful to pass around there. This is just a feedback form. Got one? You need another one? Oops, sorry. If anyone is interested in getting a copy of the book, no pressure, just available. They're normally $30 and I am selling them for $15 and I will even sign them for you. That's supposed to be a big deal, so. I'm supposed to always offer that. If when you bring your books, offer to sign them. Okay.
So, Josephine, I have a question about the vagus nerve also.
Okay.
Does that or can that cause a fear response, a physical fear response such as fainting if one's mind, I don't know how to phrase this, if one is afraid of something that's about to happen, does the vagus nerve play into that and cause an extreme fear response like fainting? Or I just
They call
don't.
it not
Yes.
just fainting, but like freezing? Is that what you're talking about? Like where you
No,
just
actual,
like...
I've seen someone faint when the IV was going to be put into
Yeah,
his
severe,
head,
yeah,
and the
reacting with
nurse said,
severe fear.
It's the vagus nerve. So I didn't.
Yeah, the vagus nerve, because it's the wandering nerve and it is the nerve that sends the messages to the rest of the body. As a result of the thought processes that induces the fear, yes, because it just shuts off so quickly. Then, obviously the oxygen kind of stops for a
Right.
second, you're out.
Yeah.
But the beautiful thing is about that is it's not like the vagus nerve is something that's going to control you in the sense of, obviously when you pass out, then you start breathing again.
Yeah.
So it automatically has a built-in wisdom about resetting, but it is our thought process that interject and interfere with that. So, yeah.
I thought it was really interesting how when we were humming, we went to the same tone, like pretty quickly.
Everyone really harmonized.
That was a very lovely and complete meditation, I think.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Did you get one of these, Mike?
Pardon?
Did you get one of these?
No, I didn't.
You-
I hate to bring it up,
Oh, you're good.
but you can take this thing to a point where you encounter other entities, some of which may not be friendly, some of which have a purpose. And there is a depth that the learning needs to go, understanding the use of the elemental weapons and protecting yourself. For instance, if you get too deep into the heart, a part of you is going to say, wait, buddy, you have no business here. Because if you mess with my function, you die.
Well,
And that's a built-in part of our nervous
yes,
system.
yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. The body has been divinely created in a way to keep itself functioning so that we cannot inadvertently interfere too grossly.
Yeah, this is a nice level to work at.
Right.
fill that, you want to, I guess.
Thank you.
Do you?
Yeah, and once you complete those, you can just pass them forward and